The Culinary Crucible is one of, if not the most, deceptively simple limited time event in Twisted Wonderland, and by all accounts, it really shouldn't be. All you do is get ingredients, cook those ingredients, and get judged for rewards. So, how could something like that possibly be challenging? RNG and time management. That's how. So, if you don't want your goose to be cooked, you're going to want to tune in because I've studied this event intensely and participated in it a fair number of times, so I can confidently say that I have all the info you need to succeed. But before we dive into the weeds, we should first go over the actual event itself, no? If you've never heard of this event series before, or you just need a refresher, the Culinary Crucible is a limited time event where two lucky ducks from the main cast are chosen to compete in a cooking challenge sponsored by the school. Our two contenders then spend a day with the ghost chefs learning how to cook or advancing their skills, with all of that knowledge culminating in a special dish. This is then served to a random judge who scores it and, in the process, decides if our apprentice chef is deserving of the ultimate reward, class credit. What that means for us, though, as players, is that for a limited time, a cooking minigame featuring the two apprentice chefs and a special signature ingredient is unlocked for play. This minigame is comprised of three parts: excursions, where you collect ingredients, cooking, where you cook those ingredients, and judging, which is what'll get us rewards. The main goal of the event is to get as many Culinary Crucible tokens as possible to exchange in the shop for a wide variety of rewards, including one of the featured Chef SR cards. These rewards can be expensive though, and you can only get a maximum of 30 tokens per dish, and that's only if it meets certain requirements. To cook such a special dish, you're going to need high quality ingredients, but those take as much as 6 hours of real world time to get. So you might be starting to see the problem here. In order to get the most tokens, you're going to have to apply a few different tricks to the first two parts of the minigame, which I'm going to share. But I'm not just going to give you the how, I'm also going to give you the why, because I feel that it's especially important with this minigame to fully understand what your options are, since it so heavily relies on time management, and everyone's schedule is different. There is also a bit of variance between events, since certain things, like featured characters, the featured ingredient, and recipes, change from event to event. However, everything we're going to be discussing is mechanic specific, so it'll apply to all events in the series. Now, the first part of our trio, excursions, are where the most time gets sunk, since you can't do much cooking without ingredients. After you complete the event's prologue, you'll be given a set of ingredients which will let you cook the first dish. But after that, you're going to have to rely on excursions to get more. Or Sam, but you need tokens for Sam. So for the majority of the event, excursions are what you'll be relying on. There are usually 6 locations across campus that you can send a collection team of 5 characters to for those characters to collect ingredients. Different locations have different types of ingredients, so you'll be prioritizing which excursions to go to based off of what you want to cook. However, the first excursion will always have the main ingredient. This ingredient is required for all dishes and is isolated, so you're guaranteed to get it when you send your team there. This can't be said for some of the other ingredients who are lumped together in groups. Also, the last 2 locations are always locked behind a token requirement. So until you earn their respective amount of tokens, you won't be able to send your team there. The good news with these is that you don't have to actually spend the tokens, you just have to have collected them. So you can save them for shop rewards instead. Now, the team you're sending to these places across campus has to include the featured event characters, but you can send any card you have of them. If you don't yet have any of their cards, you can always buy one from Sam in the shop. But if you do happen to have one or both of the featured event cards, you should absolutely add them to this team because they'll get you bonus ingredients. It's not a lot, but every little bit counts when you're working against time. It's also good to note that this bonus is limited to just the featured characters, so even if you have chef cards from previous events, they won't get you anything extra when they're on your team, unless you count having a coordinated team as a bonus. You can spend 20, 60, 150, or 360 minutes out and about with 20 minutes giving you the least number of ingredients per session and 360 the most. This, however, is the first trick the event has up its sleeve. While the numbers per round are drastically different, if you were to repeat the 20-minute session all day, your net gain of ingredients would actually be higher on average compared to just doing one or two of the longer excursions. This isn't always the best choice or the most practical, as checking your phone every 20 minutes won't be feasible for most folks. However, in general, opting for anything other than the 6-hour session during the day is going to get you more ingredients overall. And with those chef cards, you'll get a bit more. Now, this data was pulled solely from my experience, and as a sample size of 1, it may not be the most accurate, but it should paint a pretty good picture of how managing your time efficiently will impact your success. There are also time winder items which will help speed up your excursions, but I found that just prioritizing the shorter sessions has helped me way more than using these items. But you do get a couple for free, so if there's something you want to utilize, go for it. Time winders or not, aligning your excursions with your schedule will help you get the most bang for your buck, and understanding how ingredients are determined within that time frame will also help you figure out what to prioritize. So how does that work? Well, the quantities of each individual ingredient you receive during your excursion is decided by RNG. Because of this, you may not be guaranteed to receive a specific ingredient during one of the shorter trips. Generally, the less ingredients that are offered, the higher the chance for you to receive the ingredient you want. Since the main ingredient is isolated, you'll receive it 100% of the time, but for the other excursions, it can get a little dicey. In a perfect world, the distributions would look something like this. Each time you get an ingredient, you have a certain chance of receiving the one you want from the available pool, in this case, tomatoes. However, and this is only alleged, it seems like these percentages are weighed slightly. Ingredients that are used in more recipes seem to appear more often than their counterparts, so you might end up with something like this instead for that time frame. And it kind of makes sense. If the tomato is used in 4 different recipes, you're going to need it more often than the cucumber, for instance. So you're more likely to get it during your excursions. Now, the other important thing to note about ingredients is that there are 3 different qualities: bronze, silver, and gold. These come with a value that is used alongside another one of the cooking mechanics to determine the judging score. But from what I've seen folks say, only the quantities, not the qualities, are determined by RNG during excursions, though I haven't found any data on the guaranteed rate of qualities, so I'm not 100% sure on this. In either case, the qualities become more important towards the end of the event, so you don't need to stress about them at the start. With all of this to consider, we can come up with a rather simple excursion strategy. You'll want to go on excursions that target specific ingredients, but you'll want to do so by leveraging the shorter sessions to get those couple of extra drops. To find your key ingredients, you'll have to cross-reference the excursions themselves with the components of the recipes. We'll talk about recipes in a little bit, but you can make a fancy chart like this to help you decide on which excursions are the most useful for a given crucible. I'll have these charts posted in little mini guides before each individual event, so you can come back here and check those out instead of having to make it yourself if you don't want to. Once you have your key ingredients though, you'll want to send your boys to those particular excursions using the short sessions like we just mentioned. However, once night approaches, you'll want to send your team to the main ingredient excursion for the long 6-hour period. This way, you can rack up the main ingredient while you sleep, and you don't have to lose any time during the day to get those ingredients. And since they're guaranteed, you don't have to worry about their drop rate. Having either or both of the chef cards on your team during any of this will help you gain more ingredients, which will just help you in the long run. Once you've got a good stock going, it'll be time to cook. So let's take a look at the cooking process and see what it has in store. Here we'll find 9 unique recipes, all of which can be created with varying ingredients from our stock. At the start, the required ingredients will be hidden and only revealed as they are guessed correctly. If you're familiar with a dish, you can probably guess which ingredients you'll need, but if you pick the wrong one and fail the dish, you'll end up with charcoal. This won't net you many tokens, but it will tell you which ingredients were right and which were wrong, so you don't have to go through endless combinations just to get a successful dish. Which you won't have to do either if you come back here before the event starts, as I'll have a guide posted with all that info for your convenience. But once you have successfully cooked a dish, it will be given a 1, 2, or 3-star rating, with the higher rating getting you more tokens. To reach 3 stars, you'll have to keep 2 things in mind: ingredient quality and skill level. This is where the bronze, silver, and gold statuses matter. The better the ingredient in your dish, the higher its base score, which will help in getting that high star rating. But that's only half the battle. Skill level represents your skill with a specific dish. This is raised with each dish you successfully create in different increments that correlate to the different star rankings. With a 1 star, you get a 4% increase, 2 stars an 8, and 3 stars a 12. At level 0, the only rank you can get is 1 star, regardless of the quality of your ingredients. You can only start to cook 2-star dishes around 30 or so percent, and 3-star dishes around 40 to 50-ish percent. So when you first start out cooking, you'll want to save your gold ingredients for later and use your bronze instead. Once your skill level is up 30 or more, you can start using your silver and gold ingredients to try to get those 2-star dishes. And after 50%, using all gold will generally get you a 3-star dish. Once you've hit 100% skill with a recipe, you can use whatever you like, and you will still end up with a decent score and an equally decent number of tokens. You also get thaw marks as rewards for each dish, but these are decided by the number of ingredients, so the amounts are consistent across the board. As far as cooking strategies go, when you're starting out, use your bronze ingredients first, then switch to gold and silver once your skill level is high enough. After 100%, you can use whatever you have on hand to start banking in those tokens. At 100%, you can also start buying bronze ingredients from Sam's shop to create 3-star dishes if you run out of one ingredient but have the others. It'll cost you 20 tokens up front, but if the other ingredients you are using are silver and above, you can sometimes net a clean 10 token profit. Repeating this process will be slow, but you will still be making a profit, so you can use that to your advantage if you wish. However, you won't be getting either tokens or thaw marks without the dish being judged, so let's see what that's all about. Once your dish is crafted, it will be presented to a panel of 3 judges, who all have their own tastes. Skill level and ingredient quality make up the bulk of a dish's score, but the judges' preferences will also play a role in what you get. There are strict, reasonable, and lenient judges who will score your dish accordingly. Since the panel is decided at random, you'll never know who you're up against until you're serving them. But luckily, these preferences only impact your score slightly. Someone who is strict, like Vil tends to be, will have higher standards and therefore score dishes slightly lower than a lenient individual like Grim, but your score is cumulative, so you won't be punished with strict judges every time. In the early stages of culinary creation, these preferences have more sway over your total score. But once you're more proficient in crafting 2 to 3-star dishes, these preferences won't matter too much. It is kind of fun though to see where certain characters fall and what they're willing to eat or not eat. Each dish can receive a score from 3 to 30, and the tokens you gain will be equal to this score. So a score of 30 will net you 30 tokens. Charcoal dishes are guaranteed to get you 3, whereas most 3-star dishes will get you 30. Anything else will be somewhere in between. Now that we've learned about each part of the event, we can use our knowledge to form a cohesive strategy. No matter the event-specific variances, we're going to want to prioritize short excursions during the day that focus on key ingredients for our target recipes. Overnight, you'll send your team to the main ingredient excursion to stock up whilst you sleep. We're then going to use our bronze ingredients while our skill level is below 30 or so percent to craft dishes, only switching to silver and gold after we've hit that milestone. Once we're at 100%, we can use whatever quality ingredients we want to still get a decent score each time we craft that dish, and therefore decent tokens. We can repeat this process for the other recipes to get 3-star dishes in each, so that way we can complete the event mission rewards without necessarily having to get to 100% skill level. From here, we're safe to grind to our heart's content, banking as many tokens as we can because they'll all disappear once the event finishes. Yes, both your tokens and your leftover ingredients will disappear once the event is over, so use them while you can. On the final day of the event, you're going to want to dump any extra ingredients you have into charcoal dishes if they can't be used to create 2 or 3 star dishes with help from Sam. You can either prioritize tokens if you still have some rewards left in the shop that you want, or thaw marks if you've already gotten everything of interest. Regardless, you should be getting something with those ingredients since you already spent precious real-world time getting them. Then, make sure you're using your tokens in the event shop before the shop goes away to grab all that your heart desires. I usually prioritize the perfume and the free card, but you can do whatever you like. Following this general plan will help get you rolling in tokens during the next, or maybe even this, Crucible, if you happen to be watching this once one of the events is live. But before you go chasing your culinary dreams, there are a few final tips and reminders. At the start, ignore any recipes that require the last 2 excursions. From there, determine which recipes require the least amount of excursions to be able to cook. And cross-reference that with the drop rates to make sure that the ones you're going on will be viable. This will help you manage your time as there's no sense in grinding for ingredients that you either can't use or might otherwise not need. Also, don't forget that time winders are an option if you're short on time or you want just a little bit of extra help. These will not go away after the event, so the free ones that you get, you can just stockpile until you need them. I believe that there are also time winders in the shop that you can purchase, although I think you do have to spend gems on those, so they may not be the most economical of choices, but you do you. Try to clear as many of the missions as you can, since these can get you time winders, gems, and tokens. Keep in mind that you don't have to reach 100% skill proficiency to reach 3 stars, so it is quite feasible to get all of these missions within a single Crucible. The event also generally starts at 5 a.m. EST or 2 a.m. PST, so if you're able to start your first excursion around then, you can get a few extra sessions in during that day to be able to do more cooking later. This may not be feasible for everyone, but I'm a corporate girly that has to get up at ungodly hours in the morning, so I'm usually awake by the time the event goes live and can start my excursion right away. Which helps me because then when I'm busy during the rest of the day, I don't have to worry about any lost time. Also, you're gonna want to turn on app notifications and make sure that you set up the excursion completion notifications when you send your team out. These are very important because, again, everything is time-based, so you want to be able to, if you can, get those excursions back to back. On that note, though, if you have an Android phone and you want notifications, you not only have to turn notifications on, but you also have to turn power saving mode off. If you do not turn power saving mode off, Twisted Wonderland will not be able to push notifications to your phone. This not only includes Culinary Crucible notifications, but your lesson point refreshes, guest room notifications, pretty much anything related to the app will not be able to get pushed through your phone, or sometimes, like with the birthday notifications, it will get pushed through way late in the day, or even the day after. Alright, that's all I got, so get out there and get cooking. If you found this guide helpful, please let me know with a like, a comment, or maybe even a subscribe. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please let me know below. And before you go, I'd like to remind you that you're amazing, and I hope you have a wonderful day.